franktalks.com.
Relationships, sex, passion with Dr. Laurie Betito. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Welcome to Passion, a show about love, sex, and relationships. Once a month here, we focus on dating issues. We call it Dating Dilemmas with Frank Kermit, who is my regular guest here. He's a dating coach. He's the author of many books and on relationships, and he is also the relationship columnist for the Suburban.com. But tonight, and hi, Frank, again.
Hello.
We do have special guests in studio. There's a new thing in town for daters. So if you are single, you are going to want to hear this because brand new service. It's called Mingle, new kind of speed dating. And joining us in studio to talk about it is our Danny, Cynthia, and Vanessa. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Good evening.
So tell us first, what is Mingle, spelled M-I-N-G-L, just so people can know. Go ahead. Cynthia, what is it?
So Mingle is a Montreal-based speed dating agency that we just recently launched, and it really caters to a sophistication and a certain elegance, let's say. It's something that we came up with because Vanessa and I, being single, and that being our dilemma, we wanted to meet new people out of our circles, and we're busy professionals. Mm-hmm. So we just thought to ourselves, what better way to get a good group of people in the same room and try and find a potential partner that's a good match. Mingle also focuses on, I didn't mention this, but we focus on pre-screening our candidates. Okay. So we try to bring in individuals that, have a certain character, or let's say, or a certain personality type that we want to attend our events. And from here, we, organize an event, and we hope that they find a partner that'll suit them.
And it's the regular speed dating kind of rules apply,
so
7-minute conversation things.
Yeah, we're aiming to have 7-minute dates, anywhere from 6 to 7 dates within a, let's say, 2-hour time frame. Mm-hmm. And pretty much the same rules apply. However, we don't want to do the tacky bells and whistles and, loud music. We kind of want to keep it classy and have an air of sophistication, like I mentioned.
Okay. So just a lot of people complain about that when they go to a speed dating event, they kind of bring all kinds of people together, right? So it's a huge age range. It's whoever can show up, really, and that's what doesn't work for them. So is that what you're addressing, in fact, instead, is like doing it differently than that?
Yeah, a little bit. We're going to be using what we call key relationship indicators. So we're not going to have a multitude of questions, but we're going to have enough questions to really understand what the person is all about career-wise, what is their lifestyle like, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for. And based on that, we'll be able to match the right people together. So you're bringing up a very good point. Recently, Vanessa and Cynthia have gone on some speed dating events, and they're good events, but one of the things how they group people together is just by age. We want to go a little bit above and beyond that and try to group people that have the same interests and really have the best chance to connect and to have a long-lasting relationship. So that's really what we're trying to do.
Right, and I know, Frank, that makes sense to you, right, as a dating and relationship coach.
Anything that works to bring people together is something I support.
Right, yeah.
So it's all good.
But I like the idea of a bit of pre-screening beforehand. I think makes sense and appeals to a lot more people, or a lot of people who have found this experience maybe not so good, right?
Absolutely. We also, I forgot to mention, but part of the original concept was trying to revive in-person dating. So we're trying to get away from the swiping and the online dating and just kind of screening profiles really quickly based off of images. And, we were kind of quickly discussing it earlier, and it's important to have a little bit of, personal interaction with someone to know if you have a connection with them and to be able to see them and determine that.
And I think you can do that in 7 minutes. I think you can do that actually in just a couple of minutes, to tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're for the same.
I just want to ask you, Frank, as just from a research perspective, do you have any research on how long it takes to form a first impression?
People will form first impressions on nothing more than their own past experience and anything you may trigger. So it can happen in seconds.
Right.
However, there is a certain amount of time right after that where the way a person communicates can immediately change that first impression.
Right.
That is the benefit of the 7-minute interaction in
Right.
speed dating. So even if you sit down in front of the person and you say, not my type, you still got to sit there for 7 minutes and have that conversation. And if the person knows how to communicate, if they know how to address emotional needs, if they know how to connect, and the two of you end up having common values, that might take over where you decide, well, it wasn't my type initially, but
I'm attracted to this person. How is that possible? And I've seen that happen.
Right.
I've seen that happen on multiple occasions where someone says, not really my type, but once they began speaking with and seeing all those connective pieces, the attraction just grew and grew and grew. Even though they were completely not their type.
sometimes those connections are even stronger because they're not distracted by the initial attraction. The initial attraction makes them think, oh, wow, this person's going to be this person's going to be that. And then they get to know the real person and, never lives up to the fantasy. But if you're not
That's the problem with pictures. The
Yes.
picture, we attach our own fantasy to the
to
picture.
the picture.
Exactly. Yeah.
But after a 5-minute conversation where you've actually needed to take the time and get to know the person, whatever attraction builds there is potentially much more long-lasting.
Right. So, Vanessa, how do singles get involved? Like, what's the process?
So basically what we've done is set up an online database.
Okay.
You could go on to minglenow.com.
Okay.
Basically what you do is if you're interested in the speed dating event as singles in Montreal, you register yourself online. There's about 10 questions to answer. After that, we do filter through basically all the applications, all the candidates for the speed dating event, and we contact based on a screening process.
And then you set up, I guess, once you have enough people in your bank.
Exactly.
You
Well, we
set up
could
something?
technically divide them into different categories. So we want to go above and beyond the age group.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on the different types of events we do plan on organizing, there's definitely, let's say, a category for everyone to fall into.
And where will they take place?
So basically, we're in the process of focusing on a couple locations in the city, new trending locations such as like restaurants and bars around Montreal. At the moment, we have not secured a location for our first event in May. However,
Still got time.
we definitely still have time. We're looking into a couple of fun locations. So we're basically going to be holding a speed dating event. We would like to have something bi-weekly, and it'll be different places around Montreal, basically trending hotspots.
Right.
So
Well,
it's going to be a surprise.
it brings people.
Exactly.
And it brings
You
people.
got to stay tuned for all the
downtown.
information.
So Mingle Now, MINGLNOW.com to get more information. So you're going to do them twice a month. You want to do them twice a month.
Exactly.
So hopefully there are enough people that you can get a turnover. But sometimes the first initial time you do it, they don't match, and then you want to get a fresh batch, and you just keep. Sometimes you get the same people wanting to just see newer people.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So you're going to have like a whole data kind of thing. Which event did you go to? Which event did you go to? You better not. We better not match them up at the
Exactly.
next event.
Exactly.
It's a
Sounds
lot
to
of-
me like a mathematical nightmare, but anyway.
It's a lot of legwork behind the scenes as well.
Well, there are occasions when two people may need to speed date on more than one occasion.
Really?
So that maybe the third time they encounter, they say, hey, you went to that last event. Yes. And so they'll continue the conversation, sometimes a little bit more time, because let's face it, when people are nervous and their first initial conversations, they're going to be nervous. They may be too preoccupied with their own nerves to really connect to the person.
That's true too.
But once they see the same person 3-4 times, it's kind of like you go to a restaurant and you see the same waiter or waitress 3 or 4 times. You become more comfortable with them.
Right.
You start talking to them more, and who knows what kind of a connection can happen then.
There you go. That's a good tip. So they don't have to be. We don't have to exclude them. Thanks, guys. Thank you, and good luck with this new venture of yours. And
Thank
we
you so
look
much.
forward to hearing more. And when your events come out, let
For
us
sure.
know so we can
Definitely.
let our listeners know as well. In the meantime, go sign up. minglenow.com, MINGLN now.com. So.
And we're also on Facebook.
And of course, well, who isn't? Who isn't? Thank you guys for joining
so
us.
much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, take care. Next up, Frank and I will discuss some of your dating questions here on Passion.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the show. Once a month, we talk about dating, and Frank Kermit joins me, and he posts it on Facebook, so people send him questions all the time, but you can send in your questions right here, right now. 514-800 to text in. We have a texter that says there is a difference between beauty and charm, and I think that's what you were alluding to, is like, you can be beautiful or very good looking, but if there is no charm and like it can fall flat. Doesn't matter how good looking you are. And I've met people like that who are really, really good looking, but nothing there.
Well, here's my take on it. You can fake beauty. There's enough out there to help you fake being beautiful, but even that will last only so long.
Right.
And you can fake charm only up to a certain point, but after a while, charm, like any other behavior, is a repeating behavior. And somebody may be charming at the beginning, but if they can't keep it going, it's the same thing.
Then that means it's not part of their personality.
Exactly. But you can learn to be charming if you're not already charming.
You can learn it. So
You can learn
that's a
to be
skill that
charming.
you can learn.
All you have to do is identify what behaviors would be identified as being charming. Commit to those behaviors. It may be a little bit difficult at first. The benefit, of course, is that once you start acting charming, you get the benefits of charming. You see how people react to you differently.
Right.
That motivates you even more.
Right.
The beginning's a little bit more challenging, but you can do it.
I want to ask you something. You specialize and have for many years, especially when you were in Toronto holding a lot of groups, and you wrote a book on it, on adult male virgins. I mean, there are adult female virgins too, but what is their biggest challenge? Like, what do you find is the reason why they have not been able to move forward in that department?
It's a variety of reasons. It could be everything from just being overly nervous to just never having had a proper example. Many of these guys may have actually tried to date but got rejected so badly. Or, you'll hear the story of, I asked that a girl in high school and she made fun of me so much that everybody joined in, and that's it. I'm never going to put myself out there again. 20 years later, they're an adult, never having had a girlfriend.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes it starts off as a religious reason, that they have a certain religious belief that doesn't allow them to do that. But then along the way, they lost faith, or they decided the religion wasn't for them. But now they find themselves older, and the number one reason I could say is that because they've waited so long, the idea of starting now is so overwhelming. Up until age 25, it's almost still accepted.
Right.
What? You're 24 and still a virgin? Well, you probably were focusing on school or getting your life
There's
together.
almost like a reason for it.
So it's okay. But the age of 25 is what I call the age of pain. Because once you're 25, 26, 27, at that point, nobody says, oh, you're just still trying to figure it out. People start to ask the question, what's wrong with you? That's the stigma involved.
Right.
It becomes even more difficult to ask for help. You don't want to go out on a date because you don't know what to do. And what if I lean in for the kiss at the wrong time? What if it turns out I don't know how to kiss?
Or what if she finds out I'm a virgin? And am I supposed to tell her? What if? There's a lot of what ifs, right?
A lot of what ifs. And then there are people who have admitted, yes, I'm a virgin, I've never dated. And the reaction they got was not a positive one.
Right.
It wasn't a patient one. It wasn't a compassionate one. It was more of a, oh, well, I don't want the pressure of being your first.
Right.
And I know men and women who have gone through that.
Okay. That's a particular challenge right there, huh?
It is. And sometimes you're trying to get them to understand you have to commit through the behaviors, and you have to be willing to feel kind of silly by trying to do things you've never tried before. So when I give them the rule, if you're going out on a date, you have to go in for the goodnight kiss. It's such an overwhelming situation because they attach so much meaning on that first kiss. And again, that's part of it. They attach so much meaning that the first time has to be special. Don't forget that with everything available out there between prostitution and escorts and all these other venues, people wanted to lose their virginities just for sex.
They could easily do it.
They could easily do it. They don't. They don't want just sex.
Right.
They want a connection. They want
a
love.
relationship.
They want a relationship. But all of that extra pressure means the first time I kiss a girl is going to be the first time I kiss a girl. Or the first time I have sex with a boy is going to be my first time having sex. And once you attach all that extra meaning to it, it becomes a little bit more challenging to face those fears.
It's a lot of pressure and a lot of anxiety. And in my office, it's called performance anxiety.
There you go.
There's a huge fear of, what if it doesn't work?
And what I try to tell everybody is, guess what? Your first sexual experience
May not work.
It's not only is it going to work, I let them know. I just want to assure you that the first time you have sex will be a disaster. It will be the worst sex you've ever had. But it gets better after that.
Right.
Once I send them in with that expectation, and they know, well, this is the worst it's ever going to be. And
I can live with that. Yeah, it's not too bad, right?
And then once they realize that their worst was actually okay, and the other person didn't see any signs that, hey, don't you know what to do?
Right.
That tends not to happen, just because once you get going and you start figuring it out.
Also with porn today and people watching that, I just hope they don't, people don't build up unrealistic expectations of what it's supposed to be. I mean, they can certainly learn techniques by watching, but...
Well, that is also something else. Am I going to be able to live up to what this other person may have experienced? And the ironic thing, and this is a conversation I've had with countless people, both male and female adult-aged virgins, they refuse the idea of dating another virgin. What you would think is the opposite. You should want to be with another adult-aged virgin, but no. They say it themselves. Why would I want to be with somebody who knows less about this than I do?
Right. Interesting. More dating dilemmas coming up here on Passion on CJAD 800.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the program. Frank Kermit in studio with me, as he does every month, taking your questions about dating. So you can text us at 514-800 or call in at 514-790-0800. You can also send your questions straight to Frank's Facebook, which he gets them here at... what's your face? Just Frank Talks, right?
If you just go look up Frank Kermit on Facebook, you're just going to see the same face that appears on my website, franktalks.com, and that's me.
And there it is. All right. So what is, why don't you share some of the questions you got?
Okay, I got this question off of YouTube, and it was in the comment section of an interview you and I did many years ago, one of their first, on adult male virgins.
Okay. That's why. Okay. I knew there was a reason for that.
Dear Frank, there's a man, age 33. I suspect he's a virgin. The fact is I love him. We work together in an activity that is very consuming, dealing with edge situations of human life, sometimes dangerous. He is aware of my feelings, and as far as I know, he likes me too, but at this point, he's totally blocked. I took the first step, and we've already kissed. But he doesn't know what to do next and seems too proud to let me know his secret. Should I ask him about that, or would it be too much? How could I approach? I don't want him to feel bad or hurt or humiliated. Besides being love shy, he is the most admirable and generous man I know. Okay. Now, first of all, there's nothing that you could say or do that's going to make him feel worse than he probably already feels right now. Number two, don't just go and say, look, I figured you're a virgin, you don't have any experience, but that's okay.
What if he isn't?
Maybe he's not. Maybe he's just really shy. Maybe he's recovering from some type of bad incident or a bad heartbreak, and he's just very standoffish. Maybe he's asexual. We really don't know.
Right. So it could very well be that couldn't she just say, well, I noticed you're very shy about this, or I wonder sometimes, maybe I'm wondering about your level of experience.
I think you
rather
should
than
just
assuming that he's a virgin.
Yeah, I think you should just suggest that he come over for a dinner that you've made for the two of you. Basically, don't wait for him to make the next move. If he really doesn't know what to do next, don't wait for him to make the next move. Be the one to say, I want to get together with you. I'm going to make dinner on Thursday night. Come on over.
Right. I think some men, too, are afraid of the rejection, so they wait till she makes the move. So there's a certainty. When there's a certainty, it's like, okay, well, there's much less of a risk now.
Also, some men may fear not necessarily going on the date, but he's thinking in his head, she wouldn't really want me if she got to know me. So he'll do everything he can to push her away.
So they sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So this is why, miss, make the first move. Take it to the next level. Don't wait for him to do it.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Coming up, news, and we've got interesting text coming in as well, and more of your questions here on Dating Dilemmas. Frank Kermit is in studio with me answering your questions, so if you've got a question you want to ask, you can text or you can call it in. News is next, and then more dating dilemmas here on Passion on CJAD 800.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the program. Frank Kermit in studio with me answering your dating questions. And we have Jules on the line. Hi, Jules.
Hi there.
Hi.
It's not for me. It's
Okay.
actually for a friend. My husband and I have a good friend we've known for 30 years.
Okay.
Past 10 years, she doesn't date. She doesn't want to have sex. It's we're wondering, like, what's wrong with her? Is it physical or mental?
It could be neither of those things. It could be both of those things. It could be a choice that she makes.
Well, we always introduce her to friends, and she's beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with her. She's in her 40s. She's single. She's got a good job, great career.
Well, is she interested in dating somebody? Is she interested in a relationship? Does she talk about that?
Well, but she doesn't want to have the sex part.
So she's interested in the relationship, but not the sex part.
So my husband and I, I told him, look, it's not your business. Leave her alone.
Right, exactly.
But we're trying to, it's not his business, So I'm trying to figure out, is it like physical or mental or because she's such a great girl.
Yeah, but Jules, you can't, without a conversation, without her saying what it's about, sexuality is extremely complex, and the reasons why people may choose not to have sex or have no libido for sex or whatever it is there could be many, many different reasons for that.
Well,
but
see, my husband keeps saying send her to the doctor, and I said, well, I can't tell her to go to a doctor.
If she's comfortable where she's at, leave her be.
But don't you think it's not abnormal for somebody?
There's nothing abnormal about it. It's not about normal or abnormal.
Okay.
How do you know it's not her choice? Choice is not abnormal.
Okay.
If somebody says to you, look, I don't want to have sex. I'm not interested in sex until I find somebody I want to marry, for example.
Oh, okay.
Why would that be not normal?
Well, no, because my husband keeps bugging me, saying she's such a beautiful woman and she should be out there and...
Well, tell him to keep his opinion to himself.
Hold
on, Frank wants to add something to that.
I'm going to start off by saying it's obvious you and your husband do care about this woman.
Oh, yes. Well, we've known her for 30 years.
Right, so I'm not sensing any maliciousness from the two of you. I think you legitimately want her to be happy.
Well, of course.
You want her to be happy, but you have to understand something.
Yes.
And that is, you have to respect her boundaries. Okay, and you, look, there could be something wrong, and I'm going to fill you in on something here.
Okay,
she could be involved with somebody right now that she's keeping a secret and doesn't want to tell anybody else because of the nature of the relationship. We don't know.
You don't know. You can't know everything about her.
Well, yeah, we don't go get into the personal.
Well, you're kind of
That's right.
You kind of are doing that now.
Well, because he's been bugging me about this thing. She's so nice, and she should be with somebody.
The worst thing that the two of you can do is push on her boundaries that she does not want pushed through.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Jules. Bye-bye. No, that's true. There's an angle, too, that, listen.
We don't know.
We don't know.
She could be
We
seeing
don't know
somebody and she's
anything.
keeping it secret.
Right.
The bottom line is, when she's ready, she'll let the world know.
That's right. Or at least her friends know. Another texter says the numbers don't drive, I think he meant jive, and people don't get it. There's just not enough university-educated men for all the single professional women that are out there. What single women need to do is stop gravitating around the few professional guys they meet and try to connect with some great guys who happen to be blue collars. I happen to agree with that.
I agree with it as well. In fact, I have a writing exercise that I give people during coaching, and it applies to this. First, I get them to write down their ideal partner. Then I get them to write down something that, for example, what are you looking for in a stepfather for your kids, assuming you already have children? Mm-hmm. What are you looking for in a co-parent? It turns out that those qualities are very, very different than the first list. And then I say, that second list, that's who you should be looking for.
Right.
And notice that on that second list, they talk about what kind of a caring person the person might be.
Right.
They talk about whether or not the person has a good set of values, whether or not the person is going to do the right thing even when no one's looking. Those are the things you're looking for in a long-term partner, not how much the person is making, not what they look like,
and not what profession they are.
And certainly not what profession.
Yeah, and I think and it's true that sometimes we limit ourselves and we'll say, we'll only, if I'm a professional, I'll only go out with another professional. Or if I have a university degree, I'll only go out with somebody with a university degree.
There's a word, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. I think it's hypergamy, where a woman can only be attracted to or date someone of a higher level or status. So that if she gets a college degree, she can only date a man who has a college degree or higher. Mm-hmm. And it's been, I've seen some reports that that's one of the reasons why you have so many people single now, because so many women are getting educations.
Well, that's the studies. The studies show that more women are graduating university than men. So where does that leave everybody else? And I'd like to point out too, that plumbers probably make more than doctors, electricians. Like these are
mm-hmm.
trade school things, right? And is it really does intelligence equate profession? No. You can be very, very bright and not have a university degree.
The idea
and still
also,
be successful.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that men don't have as hard a time meeting people is because when they're looking for a partner, they're not looking for somebody who's equal or above them. They're looking for someone who is going to fulfill very specific needs. So an older man might be looking for companionship, and he has a very clear idea of what he needs in his life that he can't give himself. A woman in that same position might be saying, well, I also want him to have the same things I have. I want him to have the same degree, the same amount of money in the bank, and the same et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Those extra criteria really don't have anything to do with how a person treats you.
Right.
So if you want a relationship, look for somebody who treats you the way you want to be treated, and not somebody who just happens to have the same resume that you do.
Yeah. 514-800, do you agree, don't agree? And I think that was in, in response to the mingle, mm-hmm. The dating that was based on professional. And yeah, it's a good point. Do we have to limit it at that?
With that said, there's also a market for that audience. And if you're going to set up a business, you have to cater to what the market wants.
Right.
So if you're dealing with men and women who are in, let's say, the medical profession, and they only want to date people within the medical profession, and there's enough of a number that you can set up a business to meet that need, then power to them. Let them take a shot.
There's niches. Texter says, are you saying that a woman should chase a man by taking all initiatives to be together? Seems men are waiting for women to make the first moves. Are men waiting for women to make the first moves?
A lot of men right now have just basically said, I'm not going to continue to put myself out there and spend money on dates and be taken advantage of and go out there and risk rejection. If a girl really wants to be with me, she'll send me a very direct signal. And the fact is, I believe in equality. Okay, I believe women are intelligent, capable, and equal to men. And if there's a guy you really want to date, make the first move.
Right. And men actually say they appreciate that.
There are some men who would be intimidated by it, but those are not the ones that would...
You want?
You're not the ones you want to date anyway.
Right.
And the fact is, if any guy holds it against her, well, he's just disqualified himself. He's not someone you want to date. But a lot of men now are getting frustrated. I had sent you that article, I believe, not too long ago, about that woman who admitted that when she was poor and in New York, she set up multiple dates with men she met online, where she got to choose the place so that she could go to expensive restaurants and enjoy a variety of meals.
Wow.
But she never had any intentions of ever getting romantic with these men. And at one point...
She purposely used them.
Used them. Men are fed up. Their attitude is, if we make the same amount of money and you're educated too and you've got a career and so on and so forth, why am I expected to foot the bill for these things? No more. If a girl really wants to go to those places, she can invite me out. Mm-hmm. And rightly so.
And we can each pay our way.
Exactly.
Right. 514-800. Here's a question. When a relationship just starts, the sparks are so high, and as time goes, even if you want to be with this person for the rest of your life, why aren't the sparks that high anymore? Ooh, I have a scientific explanation for that one.
No, go for it.
Well, first of all, science tells us that there's something that happens in our brain, very much like taking drugs at the very beginning of a relationship, that spark some chemistry in our brain that disappears after about 18 months. So between 6 and 18 months. So that's why that lust, it's the lust phase of a relationship. It is the phase of the relationship that makes you feel in love, but you're actually in lust. And that does fade away with time. Now, love changes. It doesn't just disappear. It changes. It deepens when it's real love. When it's legitimate and real love. It goes from this very sparky kind of thing, and then eventually it just evens out. It's like a very high peak, and then it comes down and plateaus, evens out, and then every once in a while I can get little sparks, little peaks going along the way. But that's normal.
With that said, there's also that element of the mystery. It's something new. And once the mystery becomes novelty, oh, well, I'm kind of used to it. That thrill may be gone. So that's where some of the sparks came in. Yep. It's something new, a new taste, a new smell, a new flavor, a new way of being together with somebody.
And here's why people get addicted to love. There are people who are called love addicts. They are addicted to the spark. They're addicted to that phase. And when that phase goes away after 6 months, a year, they move on to the next.
With that said, there's also people that they need a little bit of emotional range ongoing and throughout. So look, some people are very happy to settle into a nice routine, into a relationship that's comfortable. And some people, they just want a surprise once a month. Okay, just out of surprise, we're just going to go out together.
Yeah, but that doesn't talk about that spark. The spark is something else. That lust. I think that's what I'm getting here. That is what you're talking about, is putting effort into a relationship to get some excitement going somewhere, right?
I see the spark as a little bit of excitement where, okay, you may not have that initial sparks and fireworks, but putting in that little bit of effort ongoing, just bringing home one flower, just for no reason, just because, a little love note by the pillow on your way to work. Right. These are little things that also, it helps keep that flame alive.
Yeah,
which
helps,
I think is important for a lot of people.
That's important for every one of us, actually. And as Pat points out, dopamine has a lot to do with that early crush. That's exactly what is triggered, is dopamine, the feel-good hormone.
One of the worst things, though, is also how people have fantasies about who the person is. We talked about this earlier. Yeah. And then the reality sets in.
Well, then that's a whole other issue, right? More dating dilemmas coming up next here on Passion on CJAD.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Dating dilemmas tonight on the program. Frank Kermit with us. We have a texter from Alberta says, in Alberta, blue-collar or trade workers make 3 times the average income of most male professionals.
Awesome.
Exactly.
We have a listener in Alberta. Awesome.
That's right. But awesome, too, with what he says. It's absolutely true.
Right.
And again, professional doesn't necessarily mean smarter.
I'll also go on a limb to say that even though blue-collar workers make more money, that still doesn't necessarily mean they're better relationship candidates either.
White-collar workers make more money.
Well, white-collar, blue-collar, you know what? It doesn't matter how much money you make, because if you don't know how to be in a relationship, you're not going to be a great relationship partner.
Right. So who cares?
It's a skill set.
Exactly.
It's a skill set.
You have a new book out called 101 Conversations, What to Say on a First Date, which I have recommended actually to a few people already who are single. And that's that's the thing that stops them from dating, is not knowing what to say. Yeah. And it's like a complete block. So I know you're offering a special on that book. So how do people get it?
I just want to see how many of our listeners are willing to go to my website, franktalks.com. You get 40% off the ebook, What to Say, 101 Great Conversations for a First Date. The code is CJAD40. CJAD40. Just go there, use that coupon, and
that's
pick
a
up the
coupon
book.
code. All right. Way to go. And thank you from our listeners. Karen, hi. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I have been pursued, and I've also taken the initiative in relationships.
Okay.
Good
But
for
I'm
you.
thinking now, as I'm getting older, hopefully a little wiser, that it's probably nice to maybe get to know the person as a friend first, so you can get to know each other, like be friendly, be like friends first.
Do you agree with that, Frank, that you should be friends
Before you
first?
get romantically involved, because once you get romantically involved, it's like you lose all your common sense. You
Well,
know?
Well, no. If you are struggling with your boundaries and not committing certain behaviors because you get totally taken in by the spark that we were talking about, that's one issue. Going out with men that you want to be romantic with and saying, let's just be friends first, you are potentially turning these men off. Because men don't go on dates to make friends. We have enough friends. If we're going on a date, we want to know that there's a potential for something more. What you can do, and I think that this might help you feel a bit more comfortable, if you want to just go out as friends, let them know that they are free to date other people while they're getting to know you. And that might be an option.
That's fine, but I just find that when you get too serious too quick, I don't feel you really get to know a person. You know, I'm just feeling that it's more important to get to know the person.
yes, but you don't have to marry them the minute
But
you meet
they
them.
usually ask you quite soon, don't they?
Well,
hold on. What do you consider getting serious?
Yeah, and how soon is soon?
Well, I find after a couple of months, they're talking about marriage.
Well, it depends where they're at in life, too, right? And it depends what that connection is. Now, research shows it takes about 6 months to really know somebody and to see them in all their different, parts of life, how they interact, like to really, really get to know somebody. But I mean, in the first few months, it depends at your age. The older you are, the faster it is, and the more experience you have, the faster you can see if somebody is for you.
Karen, I'm just going to point this out to you because I see a lot of women in my practice who have this same type of challenge about worrying what the other person wants. Know what your boundaries are.
I want to get to know the person before I make a deep, serious commitment.
Okay, give me a timeline. You give me a timeline that you feel comfortable with.
I would say a year at least.
Okay, but you're going to stay in the friend zone for a year? Don't you want to see if there's romantic interest on both parts? You think he's going to stick around and say, okay, I'll just stay friends with you for a whole year, and then you get to decide? That's a lot of wasted time if he's looking for a serious relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Well, wait. Let's also find out, Karen, if you're willing to share this. Is this for religious reasons?
No, I just want to take my time. I want to enjoy the friendship, the courtship.
Well,
I want to be sure. I don't want to break anybody's heart. I don't want to.
Okay. Well, look, you can't worry about breaking someone's heart as long as you're honest with them.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And if you really do want to just date casually for a year, I'm assuming when you say date casually, you're not interested in being sexual?
I just want to get to know the person before I get too involved.
And where does sex fit into that? Because are you having sex during this year courtship?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so you want to wait a year before sex. If these are your boundaries, and this is really how you want to approach it, you have every right to do that. But you have to understand that not everyone that you meet is going to be comfortable waiting a year and having a friendship for a year unless they themselves are
in the same position.
Are in the same position. So if this is the case, and again, I'm not going to tell you what your rules should be, but I will tell you that whatever your rules are, there are going to be people who don't agree. You have to be willing to let those go.
Right.
But the more strict your rules are, and in your case, these would be considered strict by current social norms, the more strict your rules are, the more you have to be the one to make the first move.
Make sense, Karen?
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much for calling in.
Good luck, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye. More dating dilemmas in the last couple of words. Maybe another question if we can get that in right here on Passion on CJAD.
You're listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, the podcast. Hear the show live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD 800.
Last few minutes of dating dilemmas here. 514-800. Texter says she better look like a Bo Derek because nobody's waiting a year. And I guess that's, he echoes what some men might say.
I think a lot of men might feel that way because they just don't want to have their time wasted. And the same way she doesn't want to be hurt, these men don't want to be used. With that said, maybe there's a guy out there who's struggling to perform sexually and he needs to take the time to get to know somebody before he feels comfortable.
He wants to go slow. Maybe there is somebody there who really wants to go slow first, too.
Maybe he's a widower and he hasn't been with anybody new in 20 years and he might want to go slow. So, but again, she's going to have to make the first move and she's going to have to do the work.
Or he's an adult male virgin.
Speaking of which, we got a question here from an adult male virgin. He apparently bought my book, The Adult Male Virgin Handbook. Your book for adult male virgins says that guys should stop masturbating and stop watching porn. I can restrain myself from watching it, but I have a lot of trouble with stopping masturbation because it usually helps me relax and fall asleep at night. Also, when I tried restraining myself in the past, I ended up giving up because I realized that I don't believe I will end up being with a woman anytime soon.
So there's a couple of issues here. One, the sense that nobody's going to want me.
Exactly.
And B, why do you tell him to stop? I have an idea, but to stop masturbating and watching porn.
Okay. The reason I tell men who are adult male virgins to stop masturbating is number one, they get used to their own touch.
Yes. That I see in my office, by the way, where they come to me and say, I can't orgasm with a partner.
Yeah, because they touch themselves so much, they get so used to their own touch. When a woman is there, even if he's turned on by her.
Or a man, by the way. Yeah.
Or a man. And a new person is touching them, it's a different stimulation. Their bodies won't know how to react because they're so used to a certain way.
Right.
So that's the first reason. The second reason is it gives you the motivation to go out there and meet people. If the only sexual release you have is to actually be with somebody else and you don't get any other sexual release, it'll motivate you to get out of the house and get out there and meet people, to go on dates, because you're not getting a sexual release any other way.
Yeah, it might take a while, but yeah.
It may take a while, but it's also to get into that practice. I want to make sure that when they do have their first sexual experiences, they're positive experiences.
Right.
And this is one of the first steps.
How about helping him with this part, that he doesn't believe he'll end up being with a woman anyway?
First thing we need to do is that we have to get him to build a future for himself. So I ask him questions like, where do you want to retire to and what do you want to do with your future partner? Tell me about the life you want to build for yourself. Where do you see yourself living with your future partner? Do you see yourself having kids with your future partner? When somebody builds a life like that and it becomes a goal, such that, okay, in 5 years I have to be married and have my first child. Once they make it a goal, everything changes because now they have something to work towards. They may not believe that they're going to achieve those goals, but they're much more motivated to do the work to make those goals happen.
At least if they have some goals anyway.
Yeah.
Frank, thank you so much for being here yet again. You can reach Frank at franktalks.com, and he's got a book there at 40% off. Use the coupon code CJAD40 for his 101 conversations. Thank you for that, Frank.
Thank you.
Thanks to Dave Simon, our technical producer. News is next, followed by the CJAD Comedy Show with your host, Joey Elias. Wishing you a wonderful rest of the evening. And please remember, life is short, so do take the time to smell the flowers and indulge your passions.
Listen to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito, live weeknights 10 to 11 on CJAD and CJAD.com.